Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about a Seattle judge who is very upset by the fact that people in the real world and those in the media don't like the idea of violent criminals being released back onto the streets with extraordinarily low bail. And this all came to a head in a hearing where the mother of the accused perpetrator, who by the way is caught on video initiating an attack with a weapon from behind on an elderly person, decided to ask her to not allow the media to show the face of her son because he's an innocent little baby Aladdin who didn't do nothing wrong. And the judge decided to say, you know what, I have a lot of empathy for you, the suspect and the suspect's mother, because I get a lot of criticism for releasing dangerous criminals, and honestly it's just so sad, the scrutiny that I'm put under and that you and your family are put under for the fact that this guy's a violent, dangerous individual. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I got to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
I will also remind you that on Wednesday, October 23rd, I will be live debating in person at the Sovereign House in Lower Manhattan. Registration to attend is free. I'd love for you guys to be there. Link in the top of the description for that registration.
Well, now a murder case that gives a snapshot of what's going on in many courtrooms in our area on a regular basis. Judges setting low bails on dangerous suspects. It happened after a man was accused of stabbing a handyman to death with a butcher knife in Renton. And then a different judge in the same case expressed empathy for the suspect's family, not the victim.
So you heard it right there in the intro. We have the judge expressing empathy for the suspect and the suspect's family when you have an individual who on video sneak attacked a handyman that was at his property, presumably to fix something, and then inside the home decided to stab this person. Because, you know, that's the normal thing to be empathetic for, but not for the victim, for the suspect. For the suspect who, by the way, there's video of part of this attack that is publicly available.
The whole thing has many people upset, including the Renton police chief. This is video from the crime scene showing 20-year-old Kashawn Jimerson hitting 65-year-old Michael Gray from behind with a broom handle. The video shows Gray then following him back into the apartment.
So I had to freeze frame the video right there at the point of contact, and the reason why is because YouTube is very restrictive on what I can show on my channel, and in fact, videos that don't even contain violence lately have been getting demonetized, and even when I contact creator support, I basically get told to go pound sand. But in this particular instance, for those of you who want to see the video, it is linked in the description. You have the suspect striking this guy on the back with the broom handle while he's not looking. The victim ends up chasing him back into the building.
And that's when detectives say Jimerson pulled out a butcher knife and stabbed Gray in the back, killing him.
And that is where he was stabbed to death. And then you can see the suspect walking away from the scene. So this is pretty much an open and shut case. Now, of course, it's still alleged. He hasn't been convicted. Let me be 100% clear about that. Inside the home, you could have had a teleporter that showed up, committed the murder, and framed this innocent baby angel Aladdin, this guy who didn't do anything, who's just so sweet and honestly an angel and such a good boy for his mother, and was on his way to go do surgery for an orphan that was a conjoined twin because he's just such a pillar of the community. But again, it seems like that would be a less likely scenario than the person who attacked this person, goes inside the place with this person, then the person ends up stabbed, and then this guy is the only one to emerge from that property to be the person behind this crime. I think I might be stretching a little bit. I might be taking a little bit of a leap. It doesn't take a detective to solve this particular case all that much, but you guys understand what the situation is.
According to court documents, Jimerson called 911 after the crime and confessed. Judge Michelle Gelson, who you saw there, set his bail at $50,000. And 27 hours after he was taken into custody, he was released without electronic home monitoring. The Renton police chief demanded answers, asking why Judge Gelson granted such a low bail.
So there's a couple of things that I need to make 100% clear. First and foremost, we saw the image of the judge who gave him a $50,000 bond, and what you guys need to understand is that a $50,000 bond is not saying that you necessarily have to pay $50,000. In fact, in most cases, you go to a bail bondsman, you put up around 10%, and you are able to get released. And in this particular case, this guy guy was released 27 hours after he committed this attack, after he was the prime suspect in this attack, and we saw on video he's willing to strike people from behind and then escalate to murder, according to the allegations. So this is obviously a very questionable decision by this judge. Secondly, and I will point this out for everybody out there in the audience, because if I don't, you preverts will say something. The judge is actually quite attractive as a lady, and I know she's a horrible judge. She has poor judgment, but let us give credit where credit is due, because she's doing something right.
During Jemerson's court appearance in front of Superior Court Judge Johanna Bender, Jemerson's mom wanted to address the court.
So after that initial court case and the outrage from the police in this particular scenario, it gets punted up to a different judge in order to review the facts of said case. And if you had any idea the direction that this judge was leaning towards, at least historically, I will point out that there is a Martin Luther King Jr. thing on a television behind her. Now, of course, Martin Luther King Jr. on his own is not something negative. I wish that she would take the idea that you're judging people based on the content of their character from him. But the fact of the matter is, this being up in court at least gives you an indication of where this judge typically goes in this scenario. But in addition to that, you hear a complaint from the mother about how she's worried about vigilantes going after her son because the media is showing the faces of her son. So she's asking the judge, who, by the way, the court already granted her son a release with a low bail, to, in addition to that, bar the media from being able to show her son's face.
And 27 hours after he was taken into custody, he was released without electronic home monitoring. During Jemerson's court appearance in front of Superior Court Judge Johanna Bender, Jemerson's mom wanted to address the court, asking that the media not show his face in fear of what she called vigilante justice. That's when Judge Bender expressed empathy for Jemerson's family.
And you guys did not mishear that. They did, in fact, release this guy without even an ankle monitor after he was able to make bail.
It's about me, but I will share with you that I often get death threats based on the decisions that I make, which is equally frustrating to me because I'm trying to do my job, and it should not be the responsibility of any member of the public to threaten my life because I am trying to uphold the law. So I am very empathetic to the situation that the family finds themselves in, having experienced it myself, and I understand personally how very frightening and disrupting it is, all the more so when you are also navigating this incredibly traumatic time in your family.
So I want to make something 100% clear, because it is important to say these things. Threatening a judge, threatening any politician, threatening any person is wrong. It's not a good thing to do. It doesn't help the situation right here. So I do want to say to the people who are sending these threats to this person, you need to cut it out, and you should also be prosecuted, and you deserve to be put forward before a judge that is not this judge that will actually hold you accountable for your actions. Secondly, I have major issues with this coming up in these particular circumstances. This guy, the perpetrator on video, attacked somebody, a handyman, from behind. This guy, again, according to the allegations, we don't have video of this, then stabbed that person to death and casually left the scene of the crime like it was no big deal. And then we have the mother turn around and say, you know who we should really be worried about? The perpetrator in this particular case. Because what if a vigilante were to come up out of the ether and target her son? Now, again, I'm not in favor of vigilantes doing that. I want to make that 100% clear. But the fact of the matter is, the problem in Seattle is not vigilantes trying to enforce the law. The problem in Seattle is criminals not facing any consequences. So for the judge to go on this whole rant about how she's victimized and people criticize her horrible decisions, which, by the way, she has a pattern of horrible decisions.
I'm just doing my job. You're dealing with a crisis. That's a huge difference, and one for which I'm very empathetic.
But then for her to add that she is so empathetic, not for the victim's family who lost a loved one due to senseless, pointless violence, but for the accused perpetrator and the family of that because they're in such crisis right now, to me is exactly why people have such disdain for these woke judges. This overconnection with the criminal, this bending over backwards to cry for the criminal is absurd. And apparently everybody in this situation is a victim. The judge is a victim. The previous judge, I guess, is a victim, the one that gave the low bail. The accused perpetrator is a victim. The perpetrator's mother is a victim. Everyone except for the actual victim is being considered right here. And I find that to be disgusting. And I think the American people are sick of this experiment in bending over backwards to worship the criminal while ignoring the legitimate victims and the law-abiding citizens.
I will also take this opportunity to editorialize that I hope that the press continues to take seriously their obligation to tell the stories of what happens in our courtroom in a fair and unbiased way, and takes every reasonable editorial action to not stir up public sentiment for revenge.
So yeah, after she has her little cry session and she talks about how she's so empathetic and she connected so hard with the innocent baby angel murderer in this particular case, she then says, media, you guys need to be responsible and not stir up outrage related to this, because honestly, it's probably your fault. You're probably like the perpetrator in this case, not the perpetrator, and honestly, it's just disgusting for her to have to deal with that. And again, I will add, death threats, wildly inappropriate, but you know what else is inappropriate? Victimizing the perpetrator, ignoring the actual victim, and then calling out the media for reporting on your terrible actions. You're a public official. Court trials are actions taken in public, and for damn sure, I'm willing to criticize this person, especially since many a judge in this country, especially on the western part of this country, are elected officials.
Well, ultimately, Judge Bender allowed our cameras to show Jemerson's face in court, and she increased his bail to $500,000. But let's talk about those previous decisions.
Now, again, there's a reason why I left this portion of the segment in. In this particular case, this judge, after that ridiculous rant, actually did the right thing, actually raised the bail of this violent perpetrator so that he would be held pre-trial, so that somebody else wouldn't be victimized. And in addition to that, after she scolded the media, she didn't bar them from being able to show the suspect's face. Credit where credit is due in this particular case, but as the local news media is aware, this is not in line with her pattern of behavior and what is typical when she's reviewing these cases.
Back in July, we told you Judge Bender set bail at $50,000 for the man accused of shooting a grandmother multiple times at an ATM right in front of her granddaughter. The woman, who only wanted to be called Tina, was outraged with the decision.
I should have the right to have the peace of mind knowing that they're locked up. And I don't have that. I can guarantee you my medical bills far exceed that amount of money.
So they highlight this particular case, an egregious case, and they talk about how this judge right here ended up issuing a $50,000 bond order for somebody who tried to commit an armed robbery against a grandmother at an ATM, fired multiple shots into said grandmother in front of her granddaughter, and this person was granted $50,000 bond, which, as we discussed, you only have to put up a certain portion of it in order to get out. And they show the grandmother, she talks about how her medical bills far exceed $50,000, the damage is quite significant, and these people were allowed to be out on the streets post committing that crime. But in addition to that, we have another crime that is very serious that also ended up leading to a low bail, again from this judge that is criticizing everybody for daring to question her.
Then, in February, the accused accomplice in a double murder had his bail dropped by Judge Bender from $1 million to $20,000. Joshua Jones was accused of dumping the bodies of Robert Riley and Ashley Williams in Maple Valley.
So they highlight this particular case right here where somebody who is not the killer but an accomplice to the murder had their bail reduced from $1 million to $20,000. And this happened to be a double murder, so you have two victims, and this is the person who supposedly disposed of the bodies according to the allegations. And his bail was reduced by this particular judge. Obviously, the family is outraged.
When Williams' family found out about Judge Bender's decision, they were furious.
Nobody is safe, you know, if he's out. And a $20,000 bail is not good enough to protect people.
But again, I guess what the victims' families don't understand is that the judge is really empathetic for the criminal and the crisis that the criminal's family was going through, and she wants to do anything that she can in order to aid and abet the criminal and their family through this said crisis. It's absolutely absurd, and for you to whine about you being called out for these particular decisions is an absurdity on top of an absurdity. Obviously, reducing a bond from $1 million to $20K for somebody who dumped two murder victims' bodies, to me, is ridiculous and obviously worthy of criticism. Now, of course, you should not get into the threatening territory. I need to make that abundantly clear. I do not endorse that in any way, shape, or form. A lot of people like to play fast and loose about where they stand on these particular issues, give little signals to their audience, but I am 100% clear that that's unacceptable to threaten anyone. But criticizing this judge, 100% acceptable. Criticizing this judge, warranted and deserved. And for her to bitch and moan about it says more about her than the actual critics that come after her. But you know what? That's really all I have for you guys today. I want to know what you think down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about madness in Seattle. Till next time.